participating,
Oh, really?
but I'd like to, Larry was really good on BZA, really qualified.
Yeah.
I think it's important that we find some good, not just interested people, but people who are qualified to serve on that board. So I'd like to have a little more time to talk to some folks.
Is it a critical thing, Chris, that you need someone now, or?
I think we have one BZA case, so it's not, I mean, next month. So our last one was this past Monday, so a week ago. So we
What
have
is
a
that
month
now?
until the next meeting.
What's the next case? Do you know what it's about?
No, I don't remember. I'm trying to picture my whiteboard where it's all written up, but I don't know what it's about. I can't remember.
I don't have a.
So what's that?
issue
Another meeting would be
necessarily
2
waiting
weeks?
If we want to hear another name.
I mean, and we did go through that meeting without a member, and we had 3 people there.
With 3.
Yeah, so it'd be
How many you need for a quorum there?
3.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
That's up to you.
then we can table it for 2 weeks.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay,
thank you.
let's do that.
Table for our next meeting, right?
Right.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Sorry to keep you.
Not a problem. Yep.
Okay. Apex Insurance.
Morning.
Good morning.
Doing well. Thank you. Got the whole team now.
You come up. Yeah, come on up. Sure. It's just, you have to turn your mic on though, and pull it up
I'm
close.
glad you printed these, so I could read them on the email, but it was just easier. I'm a print type of person, you
Like
know?
in the scriptures, sit at the end of the table, and then when you're called up, and then, instead of being sitting at the front and then being pushed down, so. Very good way of handling that, Morgan, so. Thank you.
Everybody have the marketing report from last time?
Yep.
Okay, I was gonna say, I did print a couple extras just in case. But we're okay. Okay. Okay, so do we want to start just by going through the marketing report and making final decisions on that? And then moving into the premium equivalents?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, so this is the benefit renewal report that we looked at last time. Okay. And if we look at page 8, that is the renewal as is with the maturing of the contract, so that retroactive year of coverage on the stop loss side. And then page 9 is the renewal with the mature contract and the no new laser and rate cap in place. And we have had approximately, as an agency, 2 to 3 clients per year that hit that rate cap and no new laser. So it's definitely, a recommended risk prevention strategy. And then proposed 4 is the increasing of the specific to 125,000. So an additional 25,000 of risk. So we would have to have more than 4 individuals hit that specific to have, quote, lost on the increase. And you average right around 4. So I think that it does make sense to go up to that $125,000 level. Just not forgetting that we have the aggregate protection in place, so we still have checks and balances if we do have a high year of specific claimants. So is proposed for, approved for renewal?
Post 4, correct?
Yes, proposed for page 9.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Have that.
It's from last week or last meeting, Bill.
Oh,
Do you,
It's a big
big,
packet.
thick one.
Real big, thick packet. Starts on page 4 and goes to
okay.
I have an extra if anyone
that big
needs.
next one, probably be that next one after you're looking at stuff there. Big stapled package. There
Yeah.
you are. That one right there. If you go to page 9,
I gotta say.
build a whole tree for this one.
I know. I really did.
So we need a motion on that,
It's the most
Jody?
important one of the year though, right? The decisions.
I'm on board.
So that's our expected claims liability at 50% probability was 3.153 at the bottom right there,
That's
right?
correct. Then if you add in the expected, the expected fixed costs.
Right.
And expected, then it's the 3.789.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
You're right on track.
Okay.
Our copay is going to remain the same.
Yes. No plan design changes proposed.
So I would move to, that we approve the proposed proposal 4 with a 50% rate cap and no new laser.
Proposed number 4, correct?
Proposed number 4.
Yep.
On page 9. I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for proposal 4. Are there any additional comments, questions, or? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same. Motion carries.
Perfect. Who will be the signer on that? Right. I'll send that over as DocuSign, okay? Or would you rather have Dottie bring a physical copy?
Have Dottie.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect,
It'll be William Hartman as president.
Yes.
perfect. This is the one that we have to get approved today, because I did get the firm extended through today, but this is the, the last day. All right, then admin is on page 15 of that package, and that is just a slight increase on the PEPM for the medical admin fee. So that is remaining surest for the 2024 plan year.
32,697, is that what we're looking at?
Yep,
Need a second motion for that?
up to you guys, with no
Yeah.
change.
That just comes through it. This is part of the package, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I just wanna
Okay,
make sure.
so anything
Yeah.
that's no change, we can just,
No change, yeah.
perfect.
Is that all right, Bill? No change there with Surest, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Then looking at page 18, dental, there is a 29% increase, but when we marketed, the market was only very slightly below that. So that will, as long as it's approved, will renew as is with the increase.
And that's voluntary, the dental is voluntary.
Right,
Yep.
exactly. And
Yeah.
so that's borne by the employee.
Yes,
Yep.
it's fine with me.
Next page is vision. That is a 9% increase. We did market, and all of our competition was well over that 9% increase. So renewing as is on vision. All other lines are in a rate hold that are currently in place, so no change to those. And then the last piece we discussed was potentially adding those worksite benefits that pay the cash lump sum that are all voluntary to the offerings.
What page is that one?
That is 24, 25, and if we're looking at adding one, my recommendation would be hospital indemnity for those expecting mothers or those planning to start families, because it does pay out for a hospital admission, even on the maternity side, as long as they are not currently pregnant when they enroll.
Again, that's voluntary also.
All three coverages are voluntary, so that's just a choice that,
That's with that, and that's with the standard.
correct.
That's another deduction that would have to be made in payroll. We are currently, we have Aflac, who does similar things. Now, we don't have a lot of employees who avail themselves of that. So that's kind of up to you guys. Once again, it's another bunch of paperwork and things between HR and payroll that will need to be done. But like I said, it's borne by the employee only, so.
But that caused us some grief in the past, I know, through Aflac, didn't it,
Yeah.
through payroll? And
Yeah.
I'd like to
Yeah.
keep it simple if we could, especially to help out the auditor and the work that has to be done there. And, I mean, you can get that on your own, too. You can get
Yeah,
your
that
own-
is true.
I think we should just forego that, in my opinion.
Yeah, we've talked before about, all these voluntary things that we offer our employees, and, the private sector doesn't really do a lot of
Right.
that. And, you kind of go back and forth, is that hand-holding with your employees?
Right.
Are you, yeah, so it's one of those things that's up to you.
I don't think it's necessary.
I agree with Todd. Let's not complicate
Sure.
things.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, great. I think on the renewal decision side then, we're in good shape.
Maybe we should have a motion just to clean it up with the, everything from medical administration to dental and vision, just to keep it all the same.
Just to
an
renew
official
as is.
Motion on the
Yeah.
record,
Yeah.
renewing everything.
Well, I'd make that motion that on the medical, dental, and vision, keep it the same. And, yeah, that's my motion.
A motion is second. Are there any other comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye?
Aye. Opposed, the same.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you, Andrew.
Okay, so we'll move on to the second packet, the one that is new today, the legal size document. These are premium equivalents that were updated with the rate cap and no new laser contract in place. So just about a 2% load to add that protection. So we are currently budgeting to the maximum, which is the top box that shows 2324 premium equivalents. We were in our executive session discussing being either midpoint or maximum for the next year. So looking at the next page, this is a living, breathing document that I have with me that we can update live, and I can send it out as soon as we're done. But I did illustrate a couple of different options just to see on paper. So the discussion with our Kinetic Health representative on the wellness side was that an employee would need to complete the wellness tasks in the 24 to 25 plan year to be eligible for the wellness incentive for the 25 to 26 plan year. So when you're looking at the non-wellness surcharge, that would be added to the premiums if an employee did not complete those tasks in the next year. And the discussion was that it would be two simple items. Having your preventive care exam with your doctor, there would be a form that you would take to your primary care doctor that they would fill out and send to HR. And the second one was attending the biometric screening. So the surcharge would not be applicable for this plan year, but we could communicate at open enrollment that that's what's coming, if that makes sense.
I like that idea.
So this document shows the premium equivalents, and the first page is to maximum. So that is that 125% of expected. The current contributions are right after the premium equivalents, or it says PEs, contributions per pay, and then per month. And that is with the, so there's, the way that it is now, if you look at the percentages in the top box, the employee is paying 7%, employee spouse is paying 10%, employee child is paying 11% of the premium, and families are paying 14% of the premium. So if you keep those percentages the exact same, if you look at the bottom box, to the left is what the new employee contributions would be if you had the new premium equivalents and kept the percentage cost share the same.
And you made a note that the spouse always is more money than the
Yes.
kids, and it was inversed, and that needed
Exactly.
change,
So it's very slightly inverse there with the 11% on employee child, but historically, the employee spouse is the driver of costs.
Absolutely.
So that was just something that if we wanted to adjust that, we could flip it potentially, so the employee spouse is paying, the higher percentage
I
than
think that
employee
should happen.
child. Then I also have, if we just did a flat percentage, and these are just illustrative, so of course we can change it to anything, but if we did 12% across the board, that would be the contributions per pay and per month on the left-hand side of that. And then 7% across the board shows you that you would be, taking in 15,600 less than this year. If you change to 12% across the board, you would be bringing in an additional $213,000 in premiums. So, it's obviously, that's a pretty big jump in some cases, but wanted to illustrate what that would look like.
And in option 3, you flip-flopped the employee and spouse and employee and
Exactly.
children,
Yes.
so to reflect
Which
more
makes
of
more
what.
sense to me,
Exactly.
because the family and the spouse is gonna be the big one.
Yes.
Just the child only is, it's very rare that the kids are
Right.
going in
The
for,
children
they
are,
get a broken arm or
yeah.
something, that's usually about it.
And those are those one and done type claims
Yeah.
that are lower cost. The definitely employee, spouse, and family tiers are historically the, the higher contribution.
I like the idea of option 3 myself.
Lauren, is that based off of 26 pays?
It is based off 26, yes. You can see that in the yellow to the right of the
Yeah.
current box.
Okay.
26
Right.
pay periods. Then, just to illustrate what it could look like, if you did add that non-wellness surcharge, there's just an example of a $25 surcharge, and that would have your non-wellness rates to the right of the yellow boxes.
I like that.
Per month and per pay. Then the last 2 pages show a $50 surcharge. So you can see the rates on what a $50 surcharge would impact.
We currently have that $25 for
Smoking.
tobacco.
So you could potentially keep the tobacco and then have another 25 for non-wellness. So if you're a smoker doing non-wellness, it would be a $50 surcharge.
I like the idea of the $50 surcharge non-wellness and get rid of the tobacco one, because it's hard to enforce the tobacco too. How
It's
do you-
true.
How do you say, well, do you smoke? No, I don't.
Right.
How are you gonna prove it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know what I'm
right. I
saying?
mean, we have everybody sign an affidavit.
Yeah, but-
That they, yeah. And
They chew
everyone's,
tobacco, or
Right.
whatever.
right.
Part of it too, though, is if, let's say they lied about tobacco smoking,
Mm-hmm.
and then they got lung cancer directly related to the tobacco smoking.
You still
Would
gotta
we have
prove
to
it.
cover that?
So that's.
Do you see what I'm saying? Because they would have
I
lied on their
understand,
application.
but the argument could be that they had quit smoking and
Right.
then they, I understand what you're
2
saying.
years
though,
later got
complete- Yes,
cancer or something.
exactly.
Okay. All right,
So that would be a really tough one.
makes sense? Yep.
I
Lawyers
personally-
would make it tough.
I personally
100%.
think, like me and Mike discussed, and Bill too was in on this, you need some skin in the game here. I think the
Yeah.
$50 non-wellness surcharge, and that'll cover get rid of the smoking thing
Yeah.
completely. Because when they go to wellness, ask them make one of the questions, do you smoke?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
try to get them off smoking, but
And it is a bit easier for HR to just have to administer one,
Yes.
the wellness plan, $50 surcharge.
I like option 3 with the $50 wellness surcharge.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, like we talked about before,
Sure.
whether we're fully funded or self-funded or anything else, any hope of this being successful is going to hinge on how healthy we can
right.
incentivize the workforce to be.
So if we're on the same page, then we're looking at the 2024, 2025, are we looking to budget to max this year again, just to cover our bases and to really develop that surplus? And then potentially, next year, looking at what the surplus is. We have some questions on, how we're funding currently, so I need to address that with Susan. And then once we do have, that nice surplus, we can start to trim down the premium equivalents towards midpoint.
I think so.
And
What do you
which
think?
option
You know
3 are we
insurance better though,
talking?
so what do you,
What page? The last page, second to last page?
I think we're looking at second to last page,
Second to last page, okay.
$50 non-wellness surcharge, which is really not
You're
relevant.
welcome. Yeah.
At this
Yeah,
point.
because we have $50 on the last
Right.
page and then the $50 on the second to last
Yes.
page. So, okay, thank you
Yeah,
for that.
Absolutely.
that is a
I
big
think-
jump, but what do you think? Or
I think the
50%?
wise thing is to budget to max. One more go
I'd
around
agree with
anyway.
that.
You don't want to be short.
It's not my favorite option, but I think it's the smartest one.
I would agree with that.
And then is that something that if we have a surplus, that's what you're going to figure out with Susan, if we have a
Yes.
surplus, the state lets us keep it in a separate fund for the next year? or
Exactly.
something?
A
In case we have an
non-reverting.
overcharge or
Yeah,
something.
we want to make sure it's in a non-reverting healthcare fund so that you can retain it.
And we
Exactly.
can drop the premiums if need be
That all,
at that
that
point.
all floats based on our experience.
Right.
It's
Sounds
easier
good.
to drop premiums later when you have money in the bank than
Right.
to scramble for money looking for it, in my opinion.
So are we looking to keep the percentages the same except for flipping the employee spouse, employee child so that they have a bit of a premium break,
Right.
but keep the percentages the same so that employee contributions will increase slightly? It will be per pay about $9 for an individual. Of course, the family's always being impacted the most at about $65 per pay.
Where do you see 65 per pay? I'm showing.
So going from
Increase.
193.88 to 258.38.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're talking about for per pay. Okay,
Yeah.
for the family. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that's with the $50 surcharge, or no,
So-
with the non-wellness, it'd be 609.
Yes,
Yes.
but we'll be spending this next plan year, everyone will simply be qualifying. Nobody we'll still have the tobacco in place
doesn't-
for this year.
This year.
And we'll be explaining it at open enrollment, what's coming next year, the
That kicks
$50
in-
surcharge.
That kicks in 25, 26
Exactly.
plan year.
Yep.
Okay.
One quick question, does the wellness, on the family side, would all the family members have to do the wellness check or just the,
So, no, definitely not the children. That's kind of a lot to ask. However, you absolutely can say that the employee and the spouse on the plan need to complete it, which I
that's
think is,
smart.
yes,
Because
I
the
agree.
spouse a lot of times can be more than the employee.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
That would be my concern is,
Well,
They
again,
both need to be on it.
It's the entire plan census that we have to
Right.
look at the health situation. here.
Right.
So, yeah, I think we want to incentivize the employee and spouse both.
yeah, absolutely.
All right. Do we need a motion to approve the new contributions and premium equivalents?
Yes,
Yeah, I think so, for sure.
yes.
So my motion will be for 24-25 max premium equivalents and contributions, option 3 on next to last page with the $50 non-wellness surcharge.
Perfect.
You said with the non-wellness?
That, yeah,
Approving for 25,
for
26.
25 and 26,
Yes.
having a $50 non-wellness
Gotcha.
surcharge. In other words, if they don't go the non-wellness, it's $50 per pay period, which is
Yep.
quite hefty.
And I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Are there any additional comments from the board or the public? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same. Motion carries.
Beautiful. That's what I have today.
If you're done, I got a comment on how this all works. For the first time, I was
Yeah.
gonna go to the emergency room. I didn't. I went to a Ready Med.
Okay.
And the lady, I don't know, my blood pressure was stupid high, like critical.
Oh, my.
But it's because I was in so much pain. I tried to describe that to her. I said, it's usually 120 over 80, lady, and you know, it's like
Right.
194 over 100 or something. And she goes, well, you need to go to the emergency room. I said, well, no, I need you to diagnose this pain. And anyway, here nor there,
Yeah.
she gave me two choices. And this is how they word it, just so everyone knows. You can go to the local emergency room that's on our plan for $500, but you're going to wait 6 to 8 hours. However, we have our own emergency room 12 miles away. We'll get you in 30 minutes. Well, what's it going to cost me? Oh, we don't know. So
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, to our employees and everyone else, you're going to get tricked at these Ready Meds a lot of time if they own an emergency room.
Yeah.
So stick to your Surest plan. Yeah, I wouldn't have waited 8 hours. She's blowing smoke up my you-know-what.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
this is how you can get, when you're in extreme pain like I was, I can wherever, just send me.
Yeah.
But it's important to realize they are selling to you at that point. I left there without any real exam, and Dr. Souter, when I got home, came to my house and examined me and took care of it. And he set up an MRI locally for me through the Surest plan at a
Right.
good rate. But yet, even when you're in extreme pain, you got to think of this stuff because they'll rip your head off. I mean, I estimated it later. I called to see what the rates were, and it would have been $5,000 or $6,000 before they would have been done with me.
Right.
Oh, my word.
And then they, of course, you pay us or we'll put a judgment on your credit. And
Yeah.
so I think we have a great plan is what I'm saying. I
Yes.
showed her my Surest app. I said, well, Lee County Health's right here. They're in network. I
Right.
said, where are you on here? Because the place I went to was in our network, but their emergency room is not. See how they trick you? Get you in the door, $50, and then hit you for $5,000 later.
And if it is a true emergency, all emergency rooms are in network, but that's hard. Sometimes that's hard to determine.
Right.
Yeah.
And this was, but I
Right. Absolutely.
toughed it out. But anyway, so it's just something for our employees to know that don't trust what a Ready Med necessarily, and I hate to use that term, not Ready Med, it was
Sure. Urgent care.
MD
Yes,
now was
urgent
it,
care.
but you need to have your wife have some input too and say, yeah, let's just wait on that.
Yeah. Every patient needs an advocate.
Yeah, yeah. It's just something I'd learned because I'd never been in a situation where I
Right.
really need to go. And when she said that, 6 to 8 hours, I'm like, oh no, like I can't take another 4 minutes. And so it's just interesting how this all works.
Yeah.
And, but the Surest app is great. I was able to punch it in. Here's where I go. It even gives you directions there.
Right. And it's good to have that up, logged in, ready to go, so that when you do need it, you know
Yeah.
how to use it already.
Yeah.
And an emergency is usually not the right time to try to
Oh.
figure it out. Right.
On our local Parkview DeKalb, it's fast for my parents. when
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They're fast.
Yeah. Yeah, I was out of state, unfortunately, or I would have just went to DeKalb, right on the network and been done. But like I said, these Ready Med, since I didn't have a primary care doctor down there, I had to go to a Ready.
Yeah.
Urgent care, I guess, not Ready Med, but yeah. Anyway, just a little on my experience. I think it's a great program we have, but you do have to have that Surest app in, know how to navigate it, just in case you ever need something, you know right where to go in there.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. Beautiful. Well, thank you guys.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Well, thank you for setting us up, and I got your
course.
email or your text.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll be back in touch with paperwork to sign, Bill.
All right.
All right, Dottie, I will sign.
Have a great day, everyone.
Bye-bye.
I think that's smart, though, to go to the max another year just to get
Yeah.
that account up.
Yeah.
We don't want to be short. Yeah.
To the max. Go to the max.
That's pretty good if all four of you are thinking in that
Yeah.
same.
Well, and the wellness, too, that's a pretty good hit if you don't do the wellness, and it should be,
Yeah.
because it's free.
Yep.
You know, free, and wouldn't you want to know if you have bad triglycerides, numbers are off, or diabetic,
Okay. Ryan,
Absolutely.
you're on deck. You've been on deck. Now you're on board. Pat her up.
Good morning, gentlemen. You should have in front of you, I don't know if they've turned all 89 or 90 pages of the contract out.
They did.
Yeah.
I did run this through Andrew before coming to you guys, and I wanted to get permission to go ahead and enter into a 5-year contract for our maintenance with Spillman. Currently, we pay, all of our agencies pay 7% increases a year. Talking with our rep, he goes, hey, what about if we do a 5-year contract, we can lock in your maintenance at 4% a year, not only for central communications, but for the sheriff, for everyone. I said, okay, that sounds great, but you know, we're gonna need some new servers in another couple of years. And with John Ober going to retire at the end of the year, we're gonna need a little more Spillman backup. So we went through and looked at adding like some managed services that are 24/7, a lot more redundancy. And if you would look on page 3, year 3, 27 to 28, you'll see a very large number of $365,000 in change. That would be when we get all brand new servers, all new hardware and everything for Spillman. I spoke with Rick Ring, and he thought if we separated out when we get that bill, just the server portion, that would be a great cum cap for our 5-year plan. I've talked to Jack Smith. He thinks it's a wonderful idea. You know, in that year, IT department will get a little reprieve from needing to buy more and more things. And this benefits every police department, sheriff's department for all their usage. I just wanted to see what you guys thought and see if you would give me the go-ahead to get this signed, get it back to them, so it's all ready to go for budget time and everything like that.
What happens with the hardware? You know, like I said, it was 90 pages long. I was trying to figure it out. When you say servers, where are those servers located?
They're at Central.
They're at Central.
Yep.
Okay. What about the radios we bought recently a few years ago? What about, is that part of this package
No.
too? So the radios are a separate deal? This is just for Spillman
Just for Spillman.
and for the hardware associated with Spillman,
Yes.
server upgrades? Okay. And that, it's not just a maintenance agreement then, we're actually getting,
We're
New
getting
equipment.
24/7 monitoring from their headquarters at Schaumburg, Illinois.
okay,
When we do our updates like we're gonna do tomorrow, we're gonna have a 1 to 2 hour downtime.
okay.
We will no longer have that with this maintenance plan. They can keep us up and running 24/7, no delays. It does a lot of benefits. There's, other than the price, there's not really a downside, but you know, we're in the business of spending money while we're trying to save lives.
Right. What was our cost previously on this? That's the one thing I couldn't figure out.
We are currently budgeted for, I believe, $124,000 just for Central for maintenance for the next,
Per year?
add 7% every year.
But per year, currently at 124.
Yep.
And how much was this proposal again? Because again, there's so many pages, I'm just trying to figure out.
With the added services, just for Central, it'll be 134 for next year, 136, 365 with all the new hardware. Then at that point in time, 166, 171. And then at 5 years, we can renegotiate another contract. Like we've been doing this with a lot of our vendors. We're locking in our maintenance upgrades and everything now, and then we can reevaluate at 5 years and say, okay, how much are we going to need to continue to go forward? This is a lot more stable.
Well, let me back up then. So for Central, I see there year one, April 1st, 134, 445, 99 cents, right?
Yep.
And that's 4% a year after that. But what's the 365,000 again on the
That
third
will
year?
be the maintenance for year 3, then including all the new servers, all of our application monitoring, our GIS managed services. Currently, Chris's department takes all of the local mapping data sends it to us, we send it to Spillman, they vet everything, and that's what the mapping we use. So they will do all of that from there on.
Okay, well, how much would just servers cost to replace? Because the reason I ask, that's $220,000 more that year. I can't imagine the servers are anywhere near that.
When I talked to Jack, he was talking around 190,000. Spillman is growing at such a fast rate locally, records-wise, that we have to have higher performance, more storage.
Is there an
But
issue
that-
with, oh, go ahead.
That portion's coming out of the Cume Camp budget, not,
Yes,
Yeah.
the maintenance, or the server
Server
portion
portion,
would come out of Cume Cap.
yeah.
So with the servers, do we run up against needing to do quotes on those since it's over 150,000 worth of equipment and it's goods?
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
It's a big amount there.
Yeah.
I don't like stuff bundled usually like that too, because not that they're trying to cheat us or anything, but I like to see stuff broken out saying, here's the amount for Spillman service, here's the amount for the GIS mapping. Because if Chris currently gives us the GIS mapping and it works and they just integrate it, I don't know why he can't continue to do that. We already pay for GIS.
Well, he gives us the raw data.
Right,
And it has to be vetted through Spillman.
right.
To make sure everything is going to map correct. And it's easier to pay them to do that, because that's also our map updates we can do them if we wanted to do them once a week, we could, but we do them every quarter. That covers all that cost, and John Ober won't be involved in it since he'll be retired, and it takes a lot of it off the local level and lets them run with it. I trust their mapping. And it's worked well because we have the managed services right now. This would just be covering 4 years of it instead of me adding it to the budget every year.
So they're currently doing all that already.
Yes, but this will save us money in the long run as far as the maintenance cost on it. I figured we're going to be saving approximately $100,000 just for central.
Do we pay for the Auburn Police Department and the Butler Police Department, DeKalb County Sheriff?
No, everybody receives their own bill.
Their own bill.
There has been a lot of discussion in the past of, since it's a county system, everybody should there should be one bill, the county pays it, then each individual department pays us, but that was from a long time ago. But we are saving everybody 3%.
Do they have to agree to this too, though, then, if we do this?
Not really, because it is a county system.
Okay.
And we're saving them money. That doesn't put them in any position where they,
Right. I'd still like to see the year 3 broken out and really what we're getting. I don't have any problem with the contract price. I mean, it is what it is.
yes.
But I would like to see year 3 broken out, exactly what we're getting for that, because it is $200 and some thousand that I think needs to be accounted for, and it is over the 150,000 that Andrew, I think that, because for equipment, we have to do that by law.
Yes.
If it's over 150, we have to have bids. So otherwise, I'm good with this.
Why wouldn't the DeKalb County Sheriff be included with DeKalb County? If it's,
I'm still trying to figure out, sir, why when Central became its own entity, we took the majority of the maintenance costs. I spoke with at least one former member of the governance board that was an original member, and they weren't sure why. We currently pay about 4.5 times what the sheriff's department pays, and we're paying about 9.5, 10% more than the Auburn Police Department, the two busiest agencies.
yeah, it's, seems like you're carrying a lot of the load.
Yeah.
When you combine the two, we're well over $1 million with the 5 years.
Quite a bit more than that.
Yeah,
But that also includes the server upgrades.
right.
Yeah. You're actually 1.15 million between the two with the server upgrades, and so you pull out the server upgrades, but that's my only, I'm not against the server upgrades or the GIS, but I'd like to see it broken out instead of just saying
Itemized.
365,000, 506, what am I really getting for that? is what I wanna-
For sure, I have
Yeah.
no
So
problem.
I'd like to see a breakout before I,
They should be able to do that.
yeah, I think you should get that broken out to us and then we'll get that approved, as needed.
Why does not the Auburn Police and the Butler Police pay part of that server upgrade?
Very good question, sir. That, I think,
And that's a good question too. That's why it needs to be broken out, so we can
Why
say,
we
hey, we
paying
all
all of
share,
it?
and what percentage do they use of I think it should be broken out by the percentage that they use too, you know what I'm saying? Auburn uses the most probably as far as,
sheriff is the second top user just because of the jail.
Right.
And then Auburn PD, Garrett,
Garrett Butler.
Waterloo, and Butler.
I don't see Garrett in here though, do I?
They're on there.
Oh, they're down the next page, I'm sorry.
Yeah, on down.
This would be,
Waterloo's the least.
I would assume, a discussion for you guys and their Board of Works or something like that. If we were able to break down a percentage and start all over with different billing. I try to save money everywhere I can, but when it comes to the servers, if we start having people cover part of the cost, they're gonna wanna have a say in the server. I'm not this is mine, but they're gonna wanna say, well, why can't I put this on that server? Personally, I would rather keep it just a county asset, a central asset. It does cost a little more, it does, but I feel a lot more comfortable with us controlling the servers versus having other people being involved in the specs. Spillman has spec'd them out to get us through another 5 years.
How many servers are there roughly, do you know?
We have our main server, we have our backup server, and then we have, I think Jack has 3 or 4 different cloud backups for us.
Okay.
The most we would ever lose might be an hour or two's worth of information.
Okay. So you do have a main and a backup, then cloud backups on top of
Yes.
that? And the cloud's included in these fees, is it?
The cloud stuff is all off of Jack's budget because
It's all out of his?
he's pretty much got everything for the entire county doing cloud backups along with
Okay.
hardware backups, so.
Okay.
We used ARPA funds for him to set up that.
Oh, that's right.
Spillman.
I remember that.
And go, transition to cloud.
I remember that now. Okay.
Okay, so you guys feel a little more comfortable if I get you a breakout of that 365? and then
I
we move
would,
forward?
yeah.
Okay.
let's do that.
I'll get with our representative, have him break that out, get it to you, so hopefully next meeting we'll go ahead and.
Yeah. If you want to email it beforehand so we have it, we can,
Okay,
act on it
perfect.
quicker that
Oh,
way.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely make sure you have it beforehand.
yeah. Great.
Yep.
Well, thank you very much. Is there anything you guys need out of me or Central Communications?
Just communication.
Just communicate.
We can do that, and we'll keep paying the bills. Thank you, folks.
Thank you, Brian. You have a good day.
You too, sir.
Yep.
Thanks, Brian.
Okay. Moving on. A little time. Anything miscellaneous? Anybody? Need to bring up concerns, questions? Andrew?
I'm looking to see if I have anything, I don't think I have anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you speak in the microphone so
Oh, yeah,
Do you want me to see if Neil can come early?
Neil come
Sure.
early?
Yeah.
sure. You gentlemen have anything miscellaneous?
Other than, I'm still waiting for that running board on that
Okay.
van. When it comes, we'll put that on.
I got one thing, particularly Eastern Star has a concern about donations to the county home.
Who's that now?
Eastern Star
Oh, Eastern Star?
have a concern donating whatever food to county home, or whatever else it might be, that county home takes federal funds. I don't think the county home takes any federal funds.
Not that I know of.
The only slight connection might be the social security. The county home takes a portion of social security.
That's not federal funds, though. Those are personal funds.
Those
Once
are
the-
personal, yeah.
once
Taken from their fund, yeah.
Yeah.
Could be paid by,
It's a federal
You know, any
program, but
source,
it's.
parents' wages,
it's
whatever,
not funded by the.
it happens to be social
Yeah,
security.
let's-
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think the fact they're paying their income happens to be from social security has federal strength.
I'd agree with that.
That was the answer I'd give them, but they wanted to make sure,
Yeah.
I don't know why that arose within that organization, but anyway.
It would be different if we were accepting Brightpoint funding or,
Yeah.
other federal housing funding.
Sure.
Yep,
Sure.
so I think you're right, Bill.
Okay. Anything on the motel business, or was that just,
Well, I can give you an update on what I understand, which is that we have requested the Indiana Department of Revenue revoke the retail merchant certificates for both the hotels that I believe they're located right beside each other, Baymont and Country Inn and Suites. My understanding is that Country Inn and Suites is currently closed because of water damage and repairs. Baymont Hotel, from, I believe, a couple of different sources I've seen, appears to have people in the parking lot and be actively operating as a hotel. They currently, at least as of maybe a week ago or so, did not have a retail merchant certificate, to my understanding. Plus, we have requested that the retail merchant certificate be yanked for us. I received communication from the person that's owning / managing the Baymont Hotel, who said they thought they were going to get their retail merchant certificate back by paying off some, I don't know if it's sales taxes or whatever is owed to the state. But I don't know that he is aware of the fact that we've asked for it to be yanked and pulled on behalf of our local innkeeper's tax not being paid. So, and then I've also asked for the Indiana Department of Revenue to enforce their law and their rules on that, which I have not seen any enforcement from the IDOR to shut a place down that has no retail merchant certificate.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
I don't think people should be allowed or to operate businesses without that.
Right.
But I'm not seeing the state enforce that currently. So I've requested that. Somebody, Bill Long from there has said he would request whatever department handles the enforcement, about that to enforce it. Maybe they're working on enforcing it right now, but I haven't seen anything yet.
Okay.
The only thing we could do different than what we're doing now is probably file a lawsuit for the overdue payments and the fines that we've got. I did find out that apparently there's quite a few long-term stays at the Baymont Hotel. So we had a question, why are there more long? It seems like there's that they do, they rent the rooms out to maybe some contractors for well over 30 days or 45 days or something like that. Or a contractor might rent 2 rooms out for a long period of time. So
Give them a discount that way and.
maybe gets a discount, but then that also, if it's over 30 days,
Takes it off the innkeeper's
then it takes it out of the innkeeper's tax. So it is possible that they have more than the average, longer than 30-day stays there, from what I'm understanding. And I'm getting that information not from Baymont itself necessarily. I can't remember if it was the city police or Amber that asked that. Amber from the Visitors Bureau. I think the city police had asked. So, but if we file a lawsuit, then you've got the cost of that lawsuit. We might be able to get attorney fees and costs, but sometimes that's just the sunk cost when you file a lawsuit to try to pursue it. The benefit of filing a suit at some point is that we can hopefully get the money back unless they file bankruptcy. Or,
If you get a judgment, at least you have a better position than just waiting on IDOR to act.
we can execute on the judgment potentially if they, but the other thing is we could get discovery, which would be being able to ask them for all the documentation that on our own forms, each hotel has to basically say, this is what we have this month for stays and this is how much we owe. We're kind of taking their word for it. But the discovery process means I could do, say, within 30 days, you got to get me this information. And if you don't, then I can ask the court for an order to compel you to do it. And if you don't do that, then there can be other fines or potentially even jail for refusing to comply with a court order. So it gets serious eventually if they wouldn't produce. But that's only if we have a lawsuit. But right now, we just got to see here in the next week or so, will the state actually enforce their own rules at this point? I hope they do. And that would help us, I think, if they do too.
Yeah.
Well, if they shut them down
We'll not get our money.
because they lifted their RRMC, that still doesn't put any money in our pocket.
No,
But how can they
So I-
continue to operate without an RRMC?
Well,
Because
they
they can't
can't.
legally collect sales tax if they don't have an RRMC, which means they can't legally rent a room because the room requires sales tax.
Exactly.
So I don't understand.
They're operating illegally, there's no doubt about that, but as far as collecting any of that, I think we might want to weigh the cost of a lawsuit in a judgment position versus not collecting anything at all, because I think that's probably the way we're headed right now, is we'll never see any of it.
well, they did reach out, not the gentleman Ganesh that I had originally communicated with, but he's got a gentleman named Paul that works for him. And I've gotten a couple emails from him. The latest one was, would you guys reduce your fines? The response has been, of course, no to this point, but they also then haven't paid, I don't think. I mean, they're not paid up.
About if you pay the tax first and then ask about the fines.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe we increase the fine.
Neil, how are you, sir?
Exactly. That's.
Yeah.
I think we're ready.
Yeah, I think so. We are.
Morning, Neil.
Sure, mic is on. Got the blue light?
Oh, there we go.
I have the blue light.
Thank you for coming early.
Oh, thanks for squeezing me in. I really appreciate it. Sorry this is coming up so quickly. I apologize of the timing. That's just kind of the way it worked. With the trial coming up, I mean, we obviously knew about that and the timing of that, but the way the PTO being used and having to cover while Mr. Lanning's out. So I presume everybody's received the letter that I emailed yesterday. I appreciate that. So really what we're looking at is the investigator position in our office is extremely important to, I guess, the workflow. I'll summarize in basically saying that we receive cases most days of the week from agencies all over the county. I named most of them, I believe. And when we decide to file cases, done in two different ways. One, if a person's been arrested, that person has to be charged and have a hearing within a very short period of time or be released on some type of bond. The other way we charge is through a summons where we see that a crime has been committed. Warrant may not be necessary in that particular case, for instance, a driving while suspended, things like that. And we file the case and issue a summons for a report date to the court for the initial hearing. So basically, all the cases that come in are first pre-screened by the investigator. We need somebody who has been in the system for some time to be able to understand what they're looking for. They are basically looking at, is everything there? Police reports, driver's license records, criminal histories, all those things. And quite frankly, we need that person to be able to pick out problems with the case. So if on occasion a traffic stop isn't a good stop, there may be a problem with it. We need to identify those things as quickly as possible so we're not filing cases that will later be dismissed on suppression issues and those type of things. So it's somebody who has the experience to notice those things and bring those to our attention quickly so that we can make a valid charging decision. And often under a pretty short window of time. Typically, we receive those really at all hours of the night, but those are screened, and by usually about 8:30 in the morning, we have a time for the initial hearing, which typically is around 1 o'clock. So we need to make decisions quickly, determine if we're filing the case, get it filed, and then be ready for the initial hearing at 1 o'clock that same day, and many times. That's the primary first role of the investigator, is to vet those cases quickly for us. Second role is more of a liaison to the police officers. So if we are having issues, that person is tasked with, say we have an issue that we've seen more than once, talk to the officers, say, hey, here's what we're seeing a trend. Here's what the judges are saying to the prosecutors. Here's what the prosecutors are saying to us. Let's try to work on this to get in line with what everybody's expectations are for how we're handling those things, tracking down evidence, those type of things. And obviously having somebody who has a working relationship with as many police officers in the county as possible is very helpful, because that can come off as not being very nice from our office to be telling them how to do their job. We appreciate when they receive our feedback in a positive way, rather than getting angry at our office for telling them, making suggestions on how they should be doing things. So again, having that relationship with a former law enforcement person is helpful. Third thing, this job is basically a 24/7 on-call position. It's not often that they get called out like that, but it is often enough that it matters. And typically in those situations, we're talking about fairly significant crimes, usually involving major injuries, murders, those type of things, where we want to make sure at the very beginning that the evidence is being collected properly. So again, we don't have problems with the case down the road when we file a case and have an issue where we can't use certain evidence because it wasn't collected properly or certain things weren't done right. So they're available. That person goes out, also coordinates execution of search warrants, those type of things. So it's a pretty involved job. It's very important for us to have somebody in that position that has significant law enforcement experience, that has seen everything from traffic stops to murder investigation to rape and child molest investigation. So it's a very broad spectrum of what we're looking for, which then means you have somebody who has a lot of experience and is not going to be making a lot of money because of the experience, because of the way the pay structure is set up. The current salary is right in the mid 60,000s, I believe. I can't remember what we're at right now. I should, because I just did the budget. Around 64,000, somewhere in that range, 64, 65. Should hopefully bump up to a little above 66 next year, but in the open market, that's not necessarily competitive for that type of position. So that brings me to the request. The request is to allow me to offer some additional paid time off for this particular position. The candidate I have in question, we've been negotiating for a while. Quite frankly, to be honest, I started having discussions with him years ago about this position. Somebody I've been friends with and trust and have done major cases with. Trust his judgment, trust him to do the right thing. And he'd be taking a fairly significant pay cut to come here. He's currently, as I said, an instructor of criminal justice at Impact Institute, has received very high marks as an instructor there. Clearly, I can't compete with 14 weeks off per year because of the summers he gets off. And he understands that. Quite frankly, I told him I don't really want him off work that much, even at the 4 or 5 weeks, whatever it would be. So I'm trying to do what I can to attract this candidate, to get him to come to our office. I think it would be a huge asset for our office in the county. Again, he's been with the county sheriff's department for 19 and a half years previously in different roles. He'd requested, he told me 5 weeks. Essentially, under the policy, we work with days, so 25 days. If he had never left, he would have 30 to 35, assuming time in between didn't count. So he would already be ahead of where he's at now, under the regular seniority if he hadn't left. But because of the way the policy is written, understandably, if you separate for more than 90 days, you basically start from scratch. So that's really the main request, is that we can provide some additional paid time off for him, so they're at least a little more competitive in a way that doesn't necessarily have to be tied to his salary. So, whatever you can give me to try to help that situation, I appreciate. I know this is a request that you don't want to hear a lot because we don't want to set a precedent. I completely agree with that and understand that. My pitch is that this is such a specific skill set for this position for me, that I think I felt comfortable at least presenting this to you because I felt it was justified at least to have a discussion. And again, the timing, I don't like to do things at the last minute like this for you. So I would prefer you have some time to discuss and think about it. But because of pre-planned things that he had going on and that we're coming up against, it just really had to be done fairly quickly for me to have any. So if you have any questions about any of that, I'm happy to go through any of it and detail whatever you need to know.
Really quickly, you had asked about salaries and whatnot. So the adopted salary in that position is $64,130 for 2024. Neil has requested $66,700 for 2025's budget.
What have we done in the past? Didn't we make an exception to hire a deputy recently that, can't remember if we poached him somewhere else, but didn't we offer some PTO for one of our deputies
Yeah.
lately?
I think it was.
Yeah,
You know what we
well,
offered?
What we did was added some to PTO, the repository, I believe.
But repository ends this
That
year,
ends
right?
this year,
Yes.
so that doesn't
Yeah.
fix this problem at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I read it in the paper that you guys had made some concessions to allow Brady to attract some lateral hires.
Yeah.
Which
I-
I understand. But
Sure we did, I
didn't,
can't remember.
didn't dig into the details on it.
Yeah. Maybe it was repository like Mike said, but
I believe it
Was
was,
that this
but
year?
it was this year, we did it, or late last year, I can't remember. But here nor there, I get where the position you're in, you're trying to grab someone with experience, and I think there are times you need to make concessions for experience.
particularly with, one or two mistakes in an investigative position, and you start having cases go south on you, it's,
And Lonnie's leaving this year?
Yes, so Lonnie, again, had a lot of repository PTO.
Right.
And so
Gotta take it.
we had a discussion a while back. He's actually not been in the office for several weeks now, using up that PTO. We've been able to absorb those duties through myself and Skylar Casto, the chief deputy. We've had to. That's just the way it went.
Yeah.
It's made it a little more work, but we get through it. He is coming back, though. He will be assisting us in Wabash for the trial for Terry Sands. He was in on that case from the very beginning, knows everything well. So he'll come back for the June 20 or 19, probably the whole week of the June 19 week for the final preparations, and then going over to Wabash County and then the trial through July 1st. So, and then after that, he's officially retired whenever that trial ends.
So he's retiring before the end of the year then?
yes.
He'll be retired at the end of the trial.
End of the trial.
That's basically his last hurrah.
Okay.
Hopefully leaving on a good note.
Yeah. So you need this, would this person work concurrently with him then? Would we have?
So I do have money in my budget for replacement employees. And quite frankly, with the open deputy position, that money's not being spent currently. So I could transfer money from that open position over to help pay for this. The goal here would be to onboard this candidate this week so that we can get him all set up with computers and everything that needs to be accessed. He is then intending to be gone for a little while for a pre-planned trip. His school semester ends shortly. But we'll be back the week of June, I think it's the 8th, and that will allow him time to come in a little bit here and there to familiarize himself with our systems, work with the way our duties for the legal secretaries work out. We have one primary person who files most of the cases. Others are cross-trained, but she knows it the best, and he'll work with her to understand the logistics of how it goes from a police report to actually filing charges. So that the goal would be then, once we leave that June 19th week, he can then come in at least in the morning to help screen cases, so we're not having to do that before the trials days over there in Wabash.
I read the request. I'm not against it. Can we do a little negotiation though? Maybe 20 days instead of 25, and start there. And
Well,
I mean,
again,
because
we're-
he is an asset at 19 and a half years. And if he would have stayed, he would be up to the 30 or 35 anyway, but he did leave. I think there needs to be some concession there. So I'd vote for 20 days, just because he does look qualified. But I want to know your guys' thoughts.
Well,
What do you think, Neil?
I'd hate to queer the deal over 5 days.
I don't think it will, though. I mean, we're showing some good faith because he's interested in the position, obviously, or he wouldn't have.
Correct.
And you've talked to him. He goes back to 5 if you would hire him, which he may not come on with that, which I understand, but I think 20 is a long shoot from 5, and I think there needs to be a little skin in the game from both sides, but I don't want to jeopardize
Well,
your position either, You need to do some salesmanship. You're buddies with this guy,
He is.
Right. I don't want to be
Practice your closing
disingenuous
arguments.
to you and tell you that I think he'll turn it down for 20. I don't think that's likely to happen. I think that's probably a fair compromise.
What would he go up to the next year? Would he, would he get his next bump in days off? Is that yearly that they get a bump in days off, or is that every 5 years? How does that work?
You get 5 after 6 months, I think.
So he would be up then, he would get it back quickly.
Oh, and
What I'm
that's,
saying,
Like each year you get an extra day.
you get an extra
Or two,
5 days each. Yeah.
But I'm not sure.
Okay.
Based upon that, I think you can look at it two different ways.
Yeah.
I guess I'm taking the approach that it's probably going to be at 20 for a while.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Because he's going to have to really put in a long time to add any more days to it.
Right.
So
But if we started him at 5 days, it would be 5 years before he'd even get, or it'd be 10 years before he even got to 20.
right.
So I'm saying we're putting him at the 10-year right away.
Right.
And then, I see what you're saying. So he'd be at 20 days, so that means he'd have to do another 4 years to go to 25, and then he would have to go another 4 past that to get to 30.
The comment was, I gave the county 19 and a half years of my blood, sweat, and tears already. Hopefully they can help me out with this.
Yeah. I like 20. That just came to my mind, but I'm not trying to hurt your deal. I'm playing the negotiator here,
what is that pay cut that he's probably going to be taking?
It's in the $10,000 a year range.
Yeah. But he does get retirement here. Did he get retirement in the other?
The good thing about, yes, so the good thing about the way this works, because he looked into that, I said, I can't help you with that because it's so individually based. I tried to do that with a previous candidate for the deputy job that unfortunately had a tragic ending. But
Oh, yeah.
she had to work through that process herself. He did that, and that part worked very well for him. I think it would transition directly from his current position in just a different form, but he wouldn't lose any service time.
Good. So he gets to have that service time added to it.
Correct.
So we have some other benefits like the retirement, and our insurance is decent, and, that's my motion, is to give this guy 20 days, this gentleman, right?
Sure.
20 days and at the current pay, which is already established.
Let me be clear about that too. The first year I did the budget was just survival mode.
Right.
Because I do have 5 different budgets because of the way the general fund and the PTD, and then you have prosecutor, 40 differences.
Right.
And there's some incentive funds and those type of things. So again, I was learning quickly last year. This year, I was able to take a little bit, after that, last year, I was able to take a little deeper dive. I think some of the positions we've already started the process to some degree, could be at least evaluated again by the HR committee who looks at how they're classified. This is one that we had discussed potentially having looked at just to see if it would qualify for a higher categorization. We haven't done that yet. It won't probably happen by this budget cycle, but maybe in the following. So again, that number to me is a little on the low side probably, but there are ways we can at least look at changing that. And the thing about it, and I know you guys want an update on the deputy position. I always look at the surrounding counties, see where we're at. You have a little bit of all over the board on this position. LaGrange County pays significantly more. Allen County has way more investigators, so their salaries range from way less to way more. And so it's hard to put a real number on where we're at because I'm sure the duties are similar, but there may be significant changes that I'm not aware, differences that I'm not aware of in the counties. So, but that's something we're looking at. I don't want to be giving you some, misleading information. It may change, it may not. So
I'll second the motion.
My motion was for 20 days PTO.
I second.
He'd like to
Second, okay. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any additional comments?
And this is for the chief deputy, or the deputy investigator deputy position only, not for any employee. Yeah.
correct, prosecutor, investigator.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's implied within that motion, I think, just to clarify, that it's at 20 days and therefore that he's at that 10-year level and
He's
then
at the
has
10
to work to
Yes.
whatever that next level is to get more days.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, a motion, discussion?
And the second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you. I do appreciate it.
Hope that works for you.
Yeah, do you want an update on that? I was told
Yeah,
earlier that, just to give you some background, last year, so the prosecutor and chief deputy are all paid by the state of Indiana. Our salaries are set by the Supreme Court, and ours are the exact same. Mine is the exact same as the trial court judges. From there, it's a percentage for the chief deputy. All of our benefits, everything is through the state. Everybody else in the office is a county employee. So several years ago, Claire Mary requested authorization to add another full-time deputy position. I think her goal was to recycle that position fairly regularly with new college graduates or things like that. Maybe noble. But what we found when we hired our person was this guy was really great.
Yeah.
And now he's the chief deputy. So he's a born prosecutor. And so last year I really almost begged the council to really significantly raise his salary. At that time, it was at $68,000 per year. And again, we're talking about a law school graduate working a full-time job. That's not a lot. To give you some reference, and I told the council this, I made more than that when I started out 20 years ago. So we're looking for the best candidates we can find for the DeKalb County Prosecutor's Office. Last year, in that position, I asked them to raise it to $83,000. That was a significant request. I understood that, but my fear was we were going to lose a very, very good prosecutor if we didn't. The way it turned out, unfortunately, things took a different turn, but it benefited the chief deputy currently in that position because he was promoted. So now the current salary is $71,000. I think you have a couple of different issues that are making it difficult to fill. One, across the state, it's a difficult position to fill for a lot of different county prosecutors' office. We have a advisory body, I guess I would call it, Indiana Prosecuting Attorneys Council, IPAC, that keeps track for us of these different issues. They're basically a lobbying function too for our state level. But they have a job board, and it's very much filled with open positions all over. That's been a discussion at the state level how to address that. They have lots of ideas, but those ideas aren't translating to helping my office today. Hopefully they will in the future. So I think it's just a general difficulty in finding quality candidates for those jobs. The second thing is I do think we're not very competitive, even locally. When I scan the job listings for the surrounding counties within a reasonable period, Elkhart, down basically through south of Fort Wayne, we're on the lower end for sure. Elkhart, I think, is starting their full-time deputies around 85,000. So unless we just find the perfect candidate who wants to live in DeKalb County or nearby, we're having a difficult time competing with the salary level we're at, which, it is what it is. I've suggested, I've been working with Amy Dembski, my liaison to the council, ways we can maybe close that gap. And that's probably going to be my big pitch in July when I make that presentation on the budget that I submitted. And hopefully we can do some things there. We do have PTD money that comes in every year.
What's PTD?
Pretrial diversion. So that produces a certain amount of income, but it also helps at this point pay for a lot of things. For instance, I was surprised to learn last year that there's no money in the budget from the general fund for any computer equipment in my office. It's all paid for out of the PTD money. So another issue we'll be talking about with the council, but so there are ways to do it. I just don't want to have to commit long term because I don't know that the pretrial diversion money has been somewhat static for a while. Different factors have made it drop a little bit. We used to handle a lot of bad check cases as a criminal matter for different entities. That statute changed. That's no longer happening. So that was a very common pretrial diversion. Used to be a lot more marijuana possession arrests for various reasons. Those aren't nearly what the numbers were. We don't even receive them in the office, quite frankly. We have a handful. But with legislation, that could go away completely sometime in the near future also, is what I hear. So again, I'm leery to commit too many resources out of that fund, not knowing what it's going to look like down the road and have a problem with being able to pay that person. So again, it's not a quick fix, but hopefully there's ways to address it. I've received, I think, 5 applications-ish, and for various reasons didn't think they were a good fit for the office. So we're still seeking people. We have some leads that we're really aggressively going after to see if we can make something work for some people. But I have an intern now, second-year law student, so if she's interested and she does a good job this summer, but we're talking about a little over a year before she'd be ready to be here. So we're looking hard at it, but until then, we just have to cover what we need to cover.
Great.
All right.
All
Thank
right.
you for the update.
I appreciate everything. Thanks.
Appreciate the details too on your email. That helped. So
Yeah.
have a good evening or a good day.
Thanks, Neil.
Okay. Anyone, anything else? Going once, going twice? We are adjourned. Thank you.